We got shirts on sale. Express your evolution and starter Pokemon love by buying an Evolution Family shirt in Which One Starter shirt. Link will be in the description below. Ash Ketchum's Charizard, one of Ash's most powerful and iconic Pokemon. We've seen Ketchum's Charizard pull off some sweet victories before in the past, giving Ash entry to some competitions and even winning some of his biggest battles to date. Charizard has always seemed to come in clutch somehow, especially when Ash was in danger of losing. He could just rely on Charizard to pull through victories. There were even some points where Charizard was used too much and Misty and Brock told him you're using Charizard a lot. What if Ash was just stripped from Charizard completely and he never got it? Who would have gotten Charmander? What kind of Pokemon would Ash get? Would he even be the same trainer without it? Well, I think I have quite the story for you guys where Ash had never obtained Charmander. Here to give me a hand with the story is my friend HybridHero.
What's going on, guys? HybridHero here. Like Mystic just mentioned, Charizard was and still is one of Ash's ace Pokemon that's appeared throughout his adventures in multiple different regions. And it's hard to imagine what Ash's journeys would look like without him. But we brainstormed a lot of cool ideas and thought of a rather interesting way to make it all work. After this video, you can go ahead and check out the video over on my channel where Mystic and I cover the secret of why Brock always falls in love with every girl he sees. What's the connection between that video and this video, you may ask? Well, I think you'll hear about from Mystic in just a sec. But before we even get to Ash, let's figure out how the story would go for Charmander.
So firstly, we need to find out who would obtain Charmander first. Ash can't have it, so we need to find a suitable trainer for the job. Damien can't do it because he doesn't want Charmander in the first place, and secondly, he's a piece of garbage. There's only one person who comes to mind when it comes to raising Charmander, and that somebody is Brock. Think about it. Do you remember how Brock got up and pretty much got in Damien's face for abandoning Charmander? There's also the fact it was his idea to go back for Charmander in the first place when it was out in the rain. If Brock wouldn't have gotten in Damien's face, Charmander would have died because the fire on its tail would have gone out. One more small instance of Brock caring for Charmander is when he caught it in the air after the Island of the Giant Pokemon episode.
Brock caring for Charmander is definitely seen, but what about when Charmander evolves into Charmeleon and Charizard? Would it obey Brock then? Yeah, I think it would actually respect and obey Brock. Simply put, it's cause he was originally a gym leader. Some Pokemon don't obey certain trainers if they don't have enough gym badges, and seeing how Brock is a gym leader, it kinda puts him on the level of a trainer with 8 gym badges. So Charizard already sees Brock as a great trainer. So with that alone, I think we made it pretty clear that Brock has the qualifications to use Charizard.
Now let's rewind in time all the way back to the Indigo Plateau days. Ash has started his Pokemon journey recently and has already won 2 badges. He has also already picked up Bulbasaur. After these events, Ash and friends find themselves lost around the Route 24 area, and out of nowhere they see a giant Pokemon on top of a rock being Charmander. Ash is super excited because Charmander was one of the starter Pokemon he could obtain, and attempts to throw a Pokeball at it. With rage in its eyes, Charmander smacks the Pokeball back to Ash. He then attempts to capture it one more time and fails one more time, being hit in the face with it. Pikachu then goes up to it and relays the message to the others that Charmander was actually waiting for someone to come pick it up. After being told this, they figured someone was going to come pick it up, so they wound up leaving it.
Later on the same night, the gang overhears a kid talking about how he abandoned his Charmander over on a rock. Brock gets up from where he's sitting and grabs him by the shirt, gets in his face and tells him, "Go and get your Charmander. It could die if the flame on its tail goes out." Damien gets snappy, and Brock and friends nearly get into a fight, and Nurse Joy comes to break it up.
Moments later, Brock and everyone else run over to Charmander and rush it back to the Pokemon Center, while Brock has it wrapped up in a blanket. Nurse Joy looks at Charmander and they find out it will be alright by morning. Brock then stays by Charmander the entire night, falling asleep near it. Charmander, still having the mindset that it trusts Damien, walks back over to the area where it was abandoned. Brock, being the first person to realize Charmander left, wakes up Ash and Misty. They then go back to the original location where Charmander was abandoned at, predicting it would go back to waiting for Damien. The usual events then transpire. Pikachu gets captured, Charmander comes to the rescue. Damien attempts to get Charmander back, but winds up getting flamed alive. Charmander then is standing there, while Brock is telling Ash he should take it. He was the one who kept the tail lit, etc. Ash agrees, and just as he's about to ask Charmander if he wants to go with him, Charmander is looking Brock in the eyes, completely ignoring Ash, and smiles at him. Brock looks at Charmander and asks, "Wait, you want me to be your trainer?" Charmander nods its head with a smile and taps in the Pokeball attached to Brock.
From there on, Brock and Charmander became super close in terms of them playing together, and Brock even made special food dishes for Charmander. Charmander enjoyed these dishes and the fun, but it wanted to get into battling, especially after seeing Ash battle against trainers. Charmander's always had the competitive spirit, considering that its previous trainer Damien was more than likely getting it into battles. After a while, Brock starts to realize this and allows Charmander to occasionally participate in battles. They would scrimmage against Ash and even train with Misty to get toughened up from the water attacks. Charmander loved the challenge. After a bit of time journeying through Kanto, Ash wins his 5th gym badge from the Celadon Gym, with the same results as in the anime, except rather than using Charmander, Ash winds up using Pidgeotto, since flying-type Pokemon still have the advantage over grass types. And Pidgeotto helped put out the fire in the Celadon Gym as well.
A little after his Celadon victory, the gang find themselves in an area called Scissor Street, an area near Celadon City. Brock is in search of a famous Pokemon breeder in that area named Susie, who is known for her knowledge of Pokemon and the way she takes care of them. Brock and friends eventually find the place. When they find her parlor, Brock starts his usual routine of girls and practically falls in love with her, except this time it's a little different. He finds her attractive and views her as a potential teacher. They also happen to see a Vulpix which belongs to Susie. It's sleeping looking adorable, and then Misty goes over calling it cute, and then Vulpix uses Flamethrower on her. I remember I laughed the first time I saw this. Vulpix is very sassy. After they introduce themselves and such, it's food time. Brock whips out all the food for the Pokemon, and Charmander is also sent out. Brock feeds Charmander and all the other Pokemon like always. Susie's Vulpix then gets up because she smells Charmander's food being a fire-type Pokemon. While Charmander is eating, Vulpix just gets up and starts eating Charmander's food and really enjoys it. Charmander gets really upset by this and starts yelling at Vulpix. Brock and friends come over to see what's going on, and Susie is super shocked, just like in the anime, how Vulpix enjoyed Brock's food. Vulpix, being sassy, just ignores Charmander and eats the entire bowl herself. Charmander then gets so upset and attempts to attack her. Brock immediately tells Charmander to stop and he makes him another bowl. Susie points out that Charmander is super spunky, but also acknowledges that it was wrong for Vulpix to take its food. Susie tells Vulpix to apologize, and Vulpix just goes back to its resting area and falls asleep. Charmander is super upset by this, but gets over it shortly after.
After the feud, the episode transpires just like how it did in the anime. Misty goes to the salon ran by Team Rocket, and they wind up tying down Misty. Ash, Brock, and Susie all come to her rescue. Ash sends out Pikachu, and Brock sends out Geodude, and they both get sludged by coughing. Susie's Vulpix immediately pops up in front of them, and is about to use a fire spin, and then Charmander immediately pops out of its Pokeball, hearing the commotion outside, and it uses Flamethrower at the exact same time Vulpix uses Fire Spin, making it a double fire attack against Team Rocket. In normal circumstances, I don't think anyone would have survived, but it's the Pokemon anime, so don't worry, they survived. After Team Rocket blasts off, Brock thanks Charmander, Susie, and Vulpix for the help. Seeing how powerful Charmander was and how great of a breeder Brock was, Susie asks Brock if he would like to take care of her Vulpix, cause she sees how much she likes Brock. Charmander sees this and immediately gets jealous, crossing its arms and looking the other way.
After Brock gets Vulpix, Charmander and her are off to a rough start. Brock pays more attention to Vulpix, constantly brushing her, feeding her, etc. Charmander gets jealous of this again and yells at Brock, crying, wishing for him to pay more attention to him. Brock sees this and feels terrible for doing that to Charmander. Charmander then runs away. Brock and friends then proceed to go look for Charmander, and what they don't know is that Team Rocket actually finds Charmander and captures it. Team Rocket somehow has a magical fire Pokemon jar, preventing Charmander from using any fire type attacks to get out. It's Team Rocket, they pull everything out of their butts. Brock and friends arrive at the scene and attempt to rescue Charmander. Brock apologizes to Charmander with sincerity, and this makes Charmander realize that Brock actually cares about it, and it triggers its evolution in the Charmeleon. This results in breaking the container it was in, and even learning a new attack and Slash. Once it breaks out, Charmeleon and Brock work together and make Team Rocket blast off. After this event, Charmeleon and Brock get a new competitive spirit and start battling more often to suit Charmeleon's needs. Vulpix and Charmeleon also practice on each other from time to time, now respecting each other as powerful fire-type Pokemon.
Our hero Ash Ketchum hasn't seen action for quite a while now. Brock and Charmander have bonded quite nicely, but still, Ash hasn't found himself a replacement fire Pokemon yet. Well, today he does, and I think you guys are gonna enjoy this. At this point in the story, Ash has around 6 badges, and just got done going through the shenanigans at Koga's gym. Originally, it was Charmander who fought this Golbat, but this time Pikachu took its place, cause Electric is super effective against flying. After his 6th gym badge victory, the gang finds himself amongst a group of Growlithe and Officer Jenny. This Jenny trains newborn Growlithe into becoming police dogs. Every Growlithe is listening to her and catching on to becoming a police canine, aside from one, the one black sheep of the family that doesn't listen and is completely different from the rest. This Growlithe has a big listening problem, and Officer Jenny doesn't know how to control it. All it wants to do is play. Ash and friends introduce themselves to Officer Jenny and Growlithe. She gives them a rundown of how that one Growlithe doesn't behave and doesn't listen. She also goes into detail that's really sweet and caring, making it one of its better qualities. Out of nowhere, Growlithe comes over to Ash and takes away its hat. Growlithe, being playful, doesn't know that the hat has significant value.
So Ash tries desperately to get his hat back after chasing Growlithe. Growlithe runs pretty far from the police training area, and while it's running, it gets a thorn caught in its paw. It then stops and howls because it's in pain. Ash, being close behind, stops to help Growlithe and removes the thorn from its paw. Growlithe then licks Ash and gives him his hat back. Due to how exhausted it was from running earlier, it gets tired and immediately falls asleep. Ash then carries Growlithe all the way back. Officer Jenny thanks Ash for taking care of it, and they begin to say their goodbyes. Officer Jenny and the other Growlithe prepare to say their goodbyes to Ash and friends. Then out of nowhere, the Growlithe Ash saved barks and rolls a ball over to him to play. Jenny then makes the comment, "I think Growlithe really likes you, Ash. I think you should be its trainer." Ash then looks at Growlithe and asks, "You want to come with us?" Growlithe then smiles with the ball in its mouth. Ash takes out a Pokeball and captures it. Now Ash has his own fire Pokemon.
Growlithe works really well for Ash, cause for one, it's labeled as the legendary Pokemon. You can see it in the beginning of the Pokemon intro in Season 1, and Ash actually sees it in the Viridian Pokemon Center at the beginning of the anime. Arcanine just works. Also, I'm saying Arcanine, cause yes, Ash's Growlithe will eventually evolve in a way that you may or may not expect.
So after Ash gets his Growlithe, Brock and Charmeleon have done a lot of training, and Charmeleon is obeying Brock perfectly because of his gym leader experience. Brock puts time aside for Vulpix though as well, and still practices his food with the other Pokemon, so Brock found a perfect balance. Ash and Growlithe attempt the train against Brock and Charmeleon, but Charmeleon has a competitive spirit and never goes easy on Growlithe. On top of that, Growlithe still plays around and sometimes doesn't take training seriously. One day though, as Ash is training with Brock, they run into a lost Eevee. Eevee has a collar on it, and it turns out that this Eevee belongs to one of the Eevee brothers near Evolution Mountain. They then deliver the Eevee to the trainer in Evolution Village, a place where people celebrate stone evolution and evolving their Pokemon. Mikey, Eevee's trainer, is struggling on whether or not he wants to evolve his Eevee or not. He is pressured by his brothers who own a Vaporeon, Flareon, and Jolteon. While this is going on, there's a special celebration going on that day, and trainers are coming to evolve their Pokemon using evolution stones. Mikey's brother notices that Brock has a Vulpix and that Ash has a Pikachu and Growlithe. They then try to convince them to evolve their Pokemon using the stones. Ash and Brock both decline the offer and say they don't want their Pokemon to evolve if they don't want to. Just as Ash is giving his explanation about why Pikachu doesn't want to evolve, he sees Growlithe playing on the table with evolution stones and attempts to chew on the Fire Stone. Immediately upon making contact, Growlithe evolves into Arcanine. Arcanine starts running around and causing chaos, and Ash has to eventually call it back to its Pokeball.
After the events of Growlithe evolving, it basically becomes Charizard, and Ash has no control of Arcanine whatsoever. Growlithe was still a baby when it evolved, so Arcanine still acts like a baby. Trying to control a baby in a bigger body is difficult to do. While Ash is having trouble controlling Arcanine, he still needs to get his badges in order for him to participate in the Pokemon League. Cinnabar Island was his next destination, where Blaine, the Fire-type gym leader, was awaiting challengers. Ash makes his way to Cinnabar Island with the intent of challenging Blaine. Before challenging him though, he does some training with his Pokemon. Of course, like always, Arcanine is out of control. Little did Ash know, Gary was actually on Cinnabar at this time. He makes his way over to Ash with his smug remarks and tells him that his Arcanine is poorly trained and should be more like his. Ash, being the moron that he is, challenges Gary to a battle, a one-on-one fight with Arcanines. And what happens? Gary's Arcanine destroys Ash's, and he has to rush it to the Pokemon Center. Ash then feels really guilty, thinking that he's a really horrible Pokemon trainer for not being able to control Arcanine. He's then in the Pokemon Center thinking hard about what to do. After a few hours, a very clever old man with riddles goes up to Ash and asks him what's going on. Ash then explains the situation to this man about Arcanine, and the old man just laughs and just tells Ash the riddle what the answer to his problem was. Ash then asks what he meant by that, and the old man just walks away.
Ash is stumped on this riddle, but finally decides to go to sleep after being up so late. After having a restful sleep, Ash wakes up and realizes the meaning of the riddle the old man was trying to tell him. Immediately after hearing this, Ash tells Misty and Brock he's heading over to the gym to challenge the gym leader. He makes his way over to the gym and realizes that the old man with the riddles actually was Blaine. Blaine then asks, "So you figured it out, huh?" Ash nods his head and sends Arcanine out immediately. He then looks Arcanine in the eyes and Arcanine looks at him back. They then sync hearts with each other and are ready to fight. Blaine brings out Magmar and the battle begins. It was an epic clash of fire Pokemon titans, but Arcanine and Ash wind up winning, thus unlocking Arcanine's potential. Regardless of Arcanine not obeying Ash fully in the beginning, it still got training, so it was powerful. The amount of playing it did increase its agility, not to mention all the training and competing it did with Charmeleon made it a lot stronger.
Speaking of Charmeleon, it eventually evolves into Charizard through training with Arcanine and Vulpix. These 3 fire Pokemon have a training triangle and a lot of respect for one another. Charizard's competitive behavior has rubbed off on Vulpix, and thus she's become different, but still loves being brushed and groomed by Brock. All 3 Pokemon have found a perfect balance of friendship with each other. Eventually though, Ash got his 8th badge and made his way up to the Indigo Plateau. The league went like how it does in the original anime, except this time, Arcanine was able to help out Ash and score him a few victories. After the victories, Ash then meets Rishi, and as usual, they hit it off really well. They become really close, they have to rescue their Pokemon from Team Rocket, and of course, they Pokemon Stargaze. They get really close, but then out of nowhere, they find out that they have to battle against each other. The night of when Ash has to battle, he runs into some problems with Team Rocket, just like how he did in the original episode. Ash uses Arcanine in this fight, and James's Weezing winds up poisoning it. Ash ends up taking Team Rocket's balloon, and has Pidgeotto fly them to the stadium where Ash's battle is. Due to Arcanine being hurt and Pidgeotto being exhausted, Ash loses 2 Pokemon, and his trump card being Arcanine. Because of this, he has to use Squirtle, Pikachu, and Bulbasaur for this battle. Ash winds up taking out Butterfree with Pikachu, as he originally does, but only after Squirtle loses to Butterfree. Bulbasaur takes out Sparky, but loses to Charmander. So, Ash is put at a really bad disadvantage in this fight. After this battle, Ash winds up losing the Pokemon League, as per usual.
Once the league is over, he winds up going to the Orange Islands, and Brock falls head over heels for Professor Ivy and winds up staying there for the duration of that part of the journey. The events happen the same way in the Orange Islands, except Arcanine actually helps Ash clutch some nice victories, especially against Drake's team in the Orange League. It helped weaken Drake's Dragonite heavily, and Pikachu came in for the kill. Once the league is over, Ash, Brock, and Misty meet up to take on Johto. Arcanine is excited to be reunited with its old friends, and they train again like always. Ash wins his first battle against Falconer, having Arcanine clutch the battle against Pidgeot. After that battle, Ash and friends are traveling over to the next area. They run into a school of Growlithe and Arcanine, trained by a veteran officer, Jenny. Ash notices this is very similar to the school where he had gotten his Growlithe originally.
Ash stops by the school and introduces himself and his friends to that officer Jenny. They greeted, and out of nowhere, the Jenny that gave Ash Growlithe calls this Jenny, and funny enough, they're related. The school that this Jenny teaches is for Growlithe and Arcanine that graduate from the beginning academy back in Kanto. The Jenny from Kanto then asks how Ash's Arcanine is doing. The Jenny in Johto makes a comment that Ash's Arcanine is rather strong, but could be a lot stronger. Ash then thinks about it carefully and talks with Arcanine, asking if he wants to train here. Arcanine is unsure and is kind of in between, but after seeing Ash's Arcanine get beat by a lot of the Arcanine at the school, he decides on leaving it there for training for a while. Pretty much, he leaves Arcanine there in the same way he left Charizard at Charcivic Valley. Oh yeah, Charcivic Valley! Brock leaves Charizard there too, because he practically falls in love with Lysa, just like all the other girls he meets. He thought that by leaving Charizard there for a bit, it would increase his chances of getting with her. That's classic Brock for you. Charizard, being a loyal Pokemon, agrees to stay for Brock, and plus, it also has a love interest for Charla, so that's pretty adorable.
That pretty much wraps up how Ash never got Charizard and how he got Arcanine instead. From here on out, the same exact scenes happen in the Pokemon anime, except replacing Charizard with Arcanine. He winds up keeping Arcanine at Jenny's, and it trains for a while and comes to Ash's rescue whenever he needs it. In the Johto League, Ash's Arcanine winds up taking out Gary's Arcanine, but it gets taken out by Blastoise. Ash actually winds up using Pikachu against Blastoise, beating him in a clash. Pikachu was Ash's starter and Blastoise was Gary's, so I figured this could still work. He uses Arcanine in the battle against Harrison, but loses to Blaziken like always. We don't see Arcanine again until the Battle Frontier, where it takes out no one's Articuno. Once that's over with, Ash's Arcanine makes a cameo every now and then once he visits Kanto after Unova. He also sees Arcanine when he visits in Kanto from Alola. His friends are super close with Arcanine, and he even lets Kiawe ride it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. What's that what if we did on your channel again, Hybrid?
Well, we're not covering much of a what if on my channel, but we're definitely covering the question of why Brock always falls in love. And it's not just with Lysa. So if you want to know more about one of your favorite characters in the Pokemon anime and the deeper, darker meaning behind his running gag, then be sure to check out the video over on my channel, cause Mystic and I definitely have an answer for this mystery.
If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on, that way you never miss an upload. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch where I stream a lot of Pokemon content and all kinds of other content like Nintendo, Borderlands, and much more. Want to support me further and gain cool perks? Check out my Patreon. Fly Jubilee, Daniel Leone, Lady Crimson, Pal491, The Lazy Leo, Matthew Young, Austin Lego, and Jarrett Weez Austin. I want to thank them personally for going above and beyond. It means the world to me. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mr. Gumbrand and I will see you in the future for more awesome Pokemon content.